Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Exalted One, and welcome back to Heroes of the Storm. Today we are checking out Auriel, the new range support on the PTR. Going to be going through a quick rundown of her abilities, talents, and my general pick for her build. So we are going to hop right into that. Auriel is a range support. She does base most of her healing off of the actual damage that she does. So it's a little bit different, kind of like a Kharazim, where she's almost a utility or a damage-dealing healer. She, unlike most heroes, does not have an actual mana cost. She instead has energy. This energy is accrued based on the attacks that you deal and those of the target of your trait, which is Bestow Hope. You add that onto any of your allies, and the damage that they deal by auto attacks or abilities is gained as energy that you can use to heal. That is the only actual source. Everything else that she has, her Q and E and her ultimate, do not utilize any energy. It just utilizes the cooldown. So the only thing the energy is used for is the healing. So you can see that we gained a little bit there based on our auto attacks. Quick rundown of the abilities. Her Q is a skill shot, somewhat kind of based, a very wide area of effect ability called Sacred Sweep. It sweeps the area with Sacred Power, dealing 175 at level 20 to enemies and an additional 351 to enemies caught in the center. So right now we can hit that on Arthas, and it hits everybody, and if they're in the center, they take that additional damage. W ability. This is where all of our heals are going to come from. Ray of Heaven. It is in an area of effect around Auriel, so this is quite a large area. If you think about when you're in a team fight, it does hit in the very corner as well, so if you still had it here, and any heroes around that are going to be healed for the amount of energy that you currently have stored. So right now we can see that we have 687. Let's go ahead and go take some damage real quick. We'll just hop right on through to these towers. So you can drop this. We're down about 500, 600 or so. Pop that. 687 healing, which is equal to the amount of energy that we stored. Her E ability, Detainment Strike. It deals 219 damage again at level 20 to the first enemy hero hit and knock them back. If they do collide with terrain or structure or anything in that kind of capacity, they are also stunned for 1¼ seconds and take additional damage as well. So we can see Arthas here, pop him over, he takes that extra damage and is stunned for 1¼ seconds, which is actually pretty substantial depending on the talents that you do take. Now starting off, 4 talents on level 1, one being a quest. Swift Sweep increases the cast speed of Sacred Sweep by 50%. So right now you can see, we'll shut off cooldowns. You can see it's not super slow, but it's not very fast either. We increase that here, and it goes much, much quicker actually. So you can see that that actually slaps pretty hard and pretty quick. So not actually a terrible choice for the first talent in the game there. So we can reset our talents, take a look. Increasing Clarity, which is the quest talent. Every time the Sacred Sweep hits a hero in the center, which is again your Q ability, increase the center damage by 3 up to 60. And once you do hit that 20 times, it increases that to 120. So we're going to be dealing 351 additional damage in addition to 175. So it actually is going to come through for quite a bit of damage. That's 450, 526 damage, 646 damage for that Q once you do have that finished. So if you do hit that, it does actually deal quite a substantial amount of damage. So definitely not a bad choice there either. Personally, it is between those 2 talents for my build that I would be looking towards. The Swift Sweep is probably the best option, in my opinion, just because you can hit them much quicker and more reliable in the center of that and actually deal that additional damage that you have for that center area of effect. But going through the others, Righteous Assault reduces the cooldown of Sacred Sweep by 2 seconds for each enemy hero hit, up to a total of 4 seconds. So if you hit 2 people with it, it drops it down to 4-second cooldown. It's not really going to do all that much. 4 seconds is still 4 seconds. You're not going to really be getting off a whole lot more of those beyond what you'd regularly be doing anyway. Searing Light, Ray of Heaven, also deals damage to enemies in the area equal to 30% of the energy consumed. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Since your W is the only way that you can heal, using that on enemies for only 30% of the energy is really losing out on the value that you have for that actual ability. So it's really terrible. The only way that that would actually be somewhat viable is if you were in against a very large melee heavy comp, and they were able to, you know, kind of push in on you. You'd be able to do a little bit more with that in that kind of scenario. But that's about it. That's really the only scenario that one would even be an option or something you'd even really think about, really, at that point. Because you don't want to be wasting your abilities that should be healing and keeping your team sustain higher to damage enemies. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So for the purpose here, we are going to go with increasing clarity. I think that that's going to actually be one of the better options. I do really like Swift Sweep, but kind of going in between them with the damage that we're going to end up getting out on the E and on our stun, and with the Q, it's going to be a pretty substantial amount of burst damage. If you hit both abilities at level 20, at least with the damage that's there, you're going to be dealing near 1,200 damage. So it's going to be a pretty substantial amount. That's kind of surprising, especially for a healer. Level 4. We pick up a couple more talents here. Majestic Span increases the sweep radius. So right now you can see that we are just about to that tower there. And once we pick this up, okay, I wanted to cast that. We're a little bit beyond there. So it increases it. It does deal a little bit larger area. Not going to be something that's too great. I thought that this would actually be one of the best talents for her at the time. But I don't really think so. In testing and in what I've seen thus far, it doesn't seem like that's going to be really all that impactful. The idea was that it gives it a larger area or wider range so that you can hit that a little bit safer and a little bit easier. So you can gain that energy because it is a large energy gain for you in your normal attacks. But I don't think that the trade-off is really worth it. Now at level 4, so we're going to go back again. Increasing clarity. Heavy Burden. Detainment Strike slows enemies after the stun. So the slow is for 35 seconds, or 35%, excuse me, for 3 seconds after you stun the target. So again, the stun only comes out and is only impacted when you are able to stun them into terrain. So we can shoot Arthas back a couple times. And you can see I mean, Arthas has Relentless automatically through these tri-modes, so it's not really going to be all that easy to tell. But 35% for 3 seconds when you're going to be knocking them towards things kind of away. It might work if you're working on something where you're chasing down enemies more frequently, or that's kind of the case, but it's really hard to know that at level 4 when you're in the middle of the game. The choice that I'm going to be going for is Repeated Defense. Every time Detainment Strike stuns a hero, increases stun damage by 10 up to 100, and after you get only 10 stuns, it increases the damage again by another 100 damage. So again, we already gained the damage on our Q, so we're going to be hitting that for about 600 if we hit them in the middle. I mean, after our quest is complete. So right now the numbers aren't going to look right. A little bit in a moment, we're going to go ahead and try that out, finish those quests on the dummy there and get that going. But so you do about 600 there. So right now it deals a base of 219 damage for the initial shot, 219 again when they hit the wall, so we're at 438 damage that's coming through, and increase another 200. So it's 638 damage for you hitting one shot, one skill shot, and you get a stun out of it as well. So you're able to deal something like that, which is just massive damage at the end of this. When it picks up that other 200 damage, it's really, really impactful. So you can, again, follow that up, knock them into a corner, and be able to hit the Q right on top of them. So you're bursting down for about 1,200 damage, and you hit them with a stun. So if you have anyone that's following up with you or anyone that's near you, you get quite a good value out of that. Now, level 7, reduces the cooldown of Ray of Heaven for bursting light. Reduces it by 2 seconds. For the most part, you're going to be using your healing, I wouldn't say sparingly, but you're going to be mindful of your energy cost. Because if you blow all your energy early, you're going to be dealing for a much lower heal. So it's, again, something that doesn't really gain a whole lot of value out of there. Again, you can't heal minions, by the way. So, again, not all that impactful. And with only a 4-second cooldown, is it really something that needs to be done? No, not really. You're not going to gain enough energy in that 2 seconds for the most part. There are some circumstances where you can, but it's not really likely that those are going to line up. The stars aren't going to align for your talent there for that to be something that's that impactful. Glimmer of Hope. Collecting a regeneration orb reduces the cost of your next Ray of Heaven by 35%. Yes, it's helpful, but it's only going to leave you with a little bit of energy left over because it does use 65% of the energy that you do have. So again, it does increase your healing output slightly, but because her trade-off is the more damage she does, the more that she actually gains out of it, it doesn't really come through a whole lot. There's better options, especially in these last two. Energized Cord, we'll come back to that one because I feel that that is going to be one of the most beneficial for this tier. The other one that a lot of people, I believe, are taking are Empathic Link. Auriel stores 25% of damage taken by allies with Bestow Hope. So again, that is the trait that attaches on top, provides a crown, and it gives you energy based on their damage dealt. Same as Auriel does with her own damage. The only difficulty with this is that at 10, one of your ultimates that more than likely you're going to be taking is going to mitigate damage. Later on, you can take an upgrade that, again, mitigates damage. And you're going to be continuing to try and do that and go along with that theme, especially if you take anything that's a little bit later at the 13th tier that we'll get to. You're going to be trying to mitigate quite a bit of damage while you're also healing. So taking a talent that incentivizes you to have someone take damage doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It doesn't synergize well. It doesn't really do all that much for you. It does gain energy, but when you're thinking of 25% of the damage taken by allies, that's not a lot. You know, someone bursts for 1,000 damage, and you can heal them back immediately after that for 250. It's just not really impressive, at least as of yet, or anything that I've seen. So I have done a little bit of playtesting, not a whole lot, but it doesn't seem like that is going to be one of the better options for that talent here. Love the E, by the way. It is very, very quick. It's almost like the Lieutenant Morales grenade, except a little bit more reliable. It doesn't bounce it out in a weird direction in any kind of capacity from the impact center. It just shoots them straight back in a line. Very, very good peeling. So that's the issue with Empathic Link, however. So it does give you more healing. It does give you more energy. That is absolute fact. The only thing that's an issue is that it doesn't synergize well with the other options that you're going to take later and any kind of damage mitigation. So in particular, if you have something like Medivh on your team where he provides shields or protection to your team or to a particular target, it's going to be counterintuitive to you gaining that energy. Energized Cord is going to be one of the better options in this tier, the best in my opinion. It increases the energy stored from Auriel's basic attacks to 100% of the damage against heroes and 30% against non-heroic targets. Now, base, you get 40% to heroes and 8% dealt. So you gain 60% more energy on basic attacks, and from anything else that's not a heroic target, you gain an additional 22%. That is huge. Not that you're basic attacking a whole lot, but anytime that you are absolutely using these. So let's not take it yet. And you can kind of see where we're going to be at against Arthas here. You know, we're gaining the damage that we do a bit. We're like 40 damage each shot. So let's go ahead and launch that. Just to dump our energy. We're taking Energized Cords. We'll drop this. And now you can see how much faster that is. It just stacks insanely. And again, this is for one-to-one, the healing that you do is equal to your energy. So when you're gaining 100 energy a shot, in addition to your target for Bestow Hope, you're going to be gaining energy so much faster. It's absolutely a necessity to take it this tier. It just ups your sustain a vast amount, and especially if you ever get caught out in a one-on-one kind of situation, it's going to be just increasing your sustain and your ability to stay in that fight immensely. So we are going to be going in that at 10. Two options. I know everyone's been very, very excited about Resurrect. So what it does is it channels on the spirit of a dead ally. So someone in your team dies in a fight, dies against a target, anything in that kind of capacity at all. You channel on them for 3 seconds, bring them back to life with 50% health. Where they died. So instead of having to wait for them to res or to come back to the fight or to walk back or for your team to disengage and then deal with that entire situation, if you get 3 seconds though in a fight, you can resurrect your team member and continue the fight. The only issue with that is that you're stationary. You can't cast any other of your spells. You can't do anything else yourself. You just have to kind of stand there for 3 entire seconds and get wailed on. Now again, it doesn't do any damage. It doesn't really help you out. Your team is still taking damage and you have no way of healing them while you're doing that, while you're using that resurrection. And to bring back a team member at 50% health. Can it be good? Absolutely. With a target such as Artanis, where he's really hard to kill anyway. When at 50% health, he gains shields for each shot. That can be very impactful. It absolutely can. But on a very regular basis, for the majority of games, it is not going to help you out. It's going to make you stand still for 3 entire seconds while you already have, more than likely, a disadvantage in numbers with the enemy team. They're going to be able to engage on you hard, and you have nothing to do about it. You get one bit of CC that comes out on you. Auriel is fairly squishy and would just get dropped immediately. So that's a bit of the issue there with Resurrect, is the cast time in general, and they're coming back with 50% health, which I feel is balanced. Just in comparison, it is not going to be the better ult. The other option, and the most popular option that I foresee happening, is going to be Crystal Aegis, which places an allied hero into stasis for 2 seconds, and when it expires, it deals 616 damage at level 21 to all nearby enemies. So we can pick that up. It looks straight like this. It has a large area of effect. Deals 616 damage to minions, to Arthas, everyone in that kind of capacity. And we gain energy out of that as well. So we can go ahead and toggle cooldowns real quick just to get that ultimate back. Dump our mana. So just want to explain how much it actually pulls up for your damage. So again, so that was, well, a couple auto attacks with the energizing cord. So take out a couple hundred from there. So we're at about 300 damage for that. Doesn't give you a whole lot, but it does give you energy that you can use immediately on that expiration. So what I foresee happening is someone diving in pretty deep, so you can use this on your tank, you can use this on someone that's out of position, you can use it as a zoning tool almost with another body inside of it. So people are stuck where they're in stasis for the length of the Crystal Aegis for 2 seconds, so almost like the idea of a Divine Palm from Kharazim. In that same kind of vein, where they are in stasis for a short period of time and then raise from it, and you're able to heal them immediately after that. So you can drop the heroic and then immediately heal right after that. So we can walk right back in here, kind of exemplify how that's going to be, well, in 2 seconds. So dump out our healing. Okay, pop the ultimate, you're in stasis, deals damage, and immediately healing. So we were at a very high health point regardless, so let's try and take that a little bit differently here. Go ahead and heal that. Just want to take a little bit of damage here. Okay, and we stasis ourselves, deal that damage, and we're back up, did 718 healing to ourselves, and then we're able to get away. Even if Arthas was chasing, we could hit him back again with the E, and we're right back out of there. So it really helps, especially by yourself. It helps you get back to a better position. It does use your ultimate to do so, but it keeps you alive and it keeps you back in the game. And for other team members that are out of position as well, you can almost use them as a booby trap for enemy team and a zoning tool, which is very, very strong in itself. Alright, and level 13, coming up to one of the better talent tiers. Blinding Flash, so Sacred Sweep, your Q ability, does blind enemies, similar to Johanna and her Blinding Shield. And that is for 4 seconds. So you're able to blind enemies completely for 4 seconds in the same area of effect as you have for your Q, which is actually quite strong. So if it is something where you're facing a very high auto attack based comp and you need something to be able to mitigate some of that damage, you're able to do that right out the gate. And again, that's where the conflict between the level 4, or excuse me, the level 7 tier with Empathic Link. You're going to be able to mitigate damage, especially in those situations. That's very, very strong. So you take less damage, your target takes less damage. Not going to work out to the best of both worlds there. But we can pop this up. Top cooldowns. Arthas going to run away. And blinded for the full 4 seconds. Not able to do much. Very, very strong against auto attack cooldowns. Very good counter to, say, Illidan, Raynor, any of those kind of veins of basic auto attack heroes. You're able to counter them quite well with that. Let's go ahead and reset. So again, increasing clarity, repeated defense, energized cord, crystal aegis, and coming through, converging force. If anyone remembers when Li Ming was released, she did have the Orb of Johas, or Johas, something in that kind of regard. It pulled everyone closer together in a very, very wide range and pulled them almost directly to the center of her attack. This is similar to that, but in a much weaker sense. So you just saw there a little bit of that. We're able to kind of pull them together. Does it have an impact? Yes. Is it much? No. Might help you pull them together for something like a Mosh. Might help you pull them together for Kael'thas Flame Strike, because that's going to be strong in this new patch. Something in that degree, but again, very, very weak for what you get out of that tier as well. So again, increasing clarity, repeated defense, energized cord, crystal aegis, piercing lash. Now this one shoots right through all targets to be able to hit everyone in a line. The only difficulty with that is that the actual straight line skill shot, they have to be pretty close together or in a direct line for that to actually impact. That one can have very good utility if you're trying to run away. You can also push them together if you're maybe chasing, a little bit more difficult to try and catch multiple people in a line when they're escaping from you. Not seeing it being all that valuable. Instead, a repelling strike, which is my absolute favorite of this tier, knocks enemies back an extra 35% further. Now, the weird thing about this is that it's not actually increasing your range of your E. So we can see right here, base, that it hits there. If we take repelling strike, still right there. Still the exact same distance. Did not change at all. But let's go ahead and reset this, and we'll go ahead and show you again what the pushback is on Arthas. Energized cord, crystal aegis, and fuck, I did it again. Let's back out. Increasing clarity, repeated defense, energized cord, crystal aegis, and so basic, we can stand right here. And let's say push him in that direction. Okay. Pushes him back roughly about the length of these cobblestones here in the try mode. Now, if we are, say, on this end, look at how fucking far that shoots. It is absurd, the distance that you can get out of that. Launches him all the way back into towers, and this kind of distance is right about mid lane. So right at level 13, you're able to launch someone from mid lane all the way back to your fucking towers. It's absurd how fucking far that goes. Look at that. It just shoots him right back. He's not able to do dick about it. I think he's still over here. See? Now, where'd he go? Oh, Arthas is gone. He ran away. Healer too strong. You can just shoot him right back. It's absolutely ridiculous the distance that you get on that. You shot all the way back to essentially where your healing well would be. That's absurd. The distance on the end, again, remember that it does shoot back and stun. So you can launch him into his own fucking towers. You can wait for him to come down here, launch him through the top lane. It stunned him like an entire lane back. That's absurd. It's like one of the largest pushbacks that are in the game. You can't even barely get back over. I mean, obviously this is on a longer cooldown than that, but still. It's absolutely incredible. And as well, that also combos again with your original talent to level 4, increasing the damage. So with increasing clarity finished, you get 600 damage roughly burst on that. Another about 600 for your E. So both abilities are going to be at about 1,000 damage every time that you're going to be... Well, excuse me, 600 damage each time. So boom, immediately gained about 1/3 of our available energy at level 22. Launch him back, now we're at half. Two abilities that are... You know, something that's not even based on your auto attacks, which again we also increased. So we can drop another heal for us for like 600, which is absurd. And again, in the chase, this is not with any cooldowns there. Stun for that 1 1/4 seconds. Obviously not something that you want to really do to push someone away from you, but you're able to come up and gank on someone very, very easily. Auriel becomes a bushmaster in this kind of capacity and in this kind of format. So we can see Arthas coming through here. Go ahead and launch him into the corner. And we've taken too much damage. We might be able to bait him back in. And there he is. And we just heal ourselves and just walk right on out. Diving towers, using our ultimate to bait him back through. Not really much he can do other than... I mean, obviously the bot's kind of an idiot, but In anyone's case, in that kind of regard, you would either prevent them from re-engaging until your team could follow up, or you would bait them back into death. Now, 16 is arguably the best tier that Auriel has in her entire kit. Starting out, another quest talent, Reservoir of Hope. Increases a maximum ray of energy, the maximum energy ray of heaven Auriel casts. I didn't even words that right at all. Not even close. Basically, every maximum energy ray of heaven Auriel casts increases the maximum amount of energy that can be stored by 75. Waiting and utilizing your full cooldown and your full ability increases your ability to heal substantially. 1198, 1198. Oh, we didn't even take it yet. Okay. 1198 and 1273, 1348, 1400. You get the point. It just keeps going. There is no cap to this in any manner. Obviously, we're not going to be gaining energy back that fast. That is because of the cooldowns that it gains that. However, you can see how after a few different heals, which I think we've done now 13, we gain another almost 1,000 energy potential, which is just absolutely ridiculous. It does very, very, very impactful to the rest of the game. Now, that is one of the options. It seems like that would be the hands down, absolutely end-all be-all for that talent. It's not. Two others, both very, very similar, Will of Heaven and Wrath of Heaven. Will of Heaven grants attack speed with 20% boost to whoever you have your Bestow Hope on. So if you have an auto attacker on your team, like a Raynor, Vala, an Illidan, something in that kind of degree, you're able to utilize that at a very, very long distance as well. If we pull out our Malfurion bot, we can use our trait on him, and this is in an area around yourself. So as long as you stay within this large area of effect near your target that you have your Bestow Hope on, you're able to gain everything that they do from their attacks, and you're able to gain that attack speed or ability power. So 20% attack speed or 10% ability power. Based on your team comp, you're able to organize that a little bit better, or to whatever is going to be the best option for you. Going to walk right in here again, semi-body block. He's going to get out. Okay. But absolutely ridiculous. One that's probably going to work out is going to be either Will or Wrath of Heaven. Reservoir of Hope, very, very, very impactful. However, it does incentivize you to hold on to your entire charge, so you may not be healing as much. You may not be keeping your team alive as well. You may not be doing the things that you need to be doing to keep your team alive. Gain on Arthas and drop him. So, more than likely what would be coming through is Will of Heaven, because auto attackers are pretty common, pretty easy, and very, very easy to gain that value from. The ability power is going to be very, very impactful if you have Kael'thas, if you have Li Ming, something in that kind of regard. But if you do not have one of those two heroes, even maybe a Jaina, not going to be as valuable to you, and you may look for other options, or even come back to the Reservoir of Hope, because that is still a good talent. It's almost counterintuitive to you healing frequently. Lastly, the Heroics. A light speed, which is for the Heroic for the Resurrection, increases the healing of Resurrect to 100% of the allies' maximum health, and they gain 200% increased move speed that decays over 4 seconds. So very, very fast. If you can think about it, it is very similar to Sylvanas' Mind Control, the upgrade at level 20, where you're basically just running into her at full speed at maximum capacity, going as fast as possible. Or if you watched Auriel Spotlight, Thrall just sprinting down the lane to catch after somebody. A little ridiculous, but again, it's that 3-second charge time. It's that 3-second delay that really kind of kills it, and makes it a little bit more difficult to get the value out of that. So what we're going to be looking towards, and again, this is a very, very interesting talent tier for Auriel. We have Diamond Resolve. Crystal Aegis grants allies a shield, and that reduces the damage taken by 50% for 4 seconds. 4 seconds is very, very, very huge. We're going to go ahead and refresh the forts right here. Now pop this in. Drop that. We pop out of it, and it helps to actually take the talent that you need. Okay, so we're going to hop back in here. take some damage. And immediately, look at how much less damage we're taking in general. Now, Malfurion did heal us, so we can go ahead and toggle that asshole off. But, okay, now that his healing is... Shit, well, we need to refresh the forts. Okay. Now we can test it. Holy crap. Okay. Go into stasis, save ourselves, be able to deal damage. We're taking just an absurd less amount of damage. I just soaked up about 9-10 shots from the towers and not even, like, scratched at all. Just able to heal ourselves right back up, no problem. It's absolutely absurd. That's a very, very good talent choice there at 20. Again, increasing clarity, repeated defense, energized cord, crystal aegis, repelling strike. More than likely, Will of Heaven is going to be most likely, though Wrath of Heaven also very, very common choice as well, depending on your comp. Angelic Flight. For those that know Falstad, basically a flight to any of your chosen places on the map with a limitation on the area of effect. So we can see Ariel here, and her area of effect is not visible on the map. I know it does have one very, very similar to Falstad. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's all the way over here. So from where Ariel is, which just got rooted, all the way to here, we're able to fly. It's a massive distance. Similar to Falstad, you have another global at 20. Instead of having to rely on, you know, the basic global heroes, you can make her have that, which is already strong in itself. But having it with Ariel and the talents that she has in her kit is absolutely ridiculous. You can fly in, come right in, make an impact, save someone with your Crystal Aegis, and heal them immediately to save someone if they are in danger. You can also come through, fly in front of somebody. Say Arthas is running away, we can fly over here. It's a little slow, but then we can, well, knock him back into our own team, which is a little bit ridiculous. So we can fly ahead. Does take a bit, but you know, you're considering a late game where you have, you know, the 20 tiers, you can launch someone pretty far back in your own team with that additional knockback from Detainment Strike. God, that's just ridiculous. Lastly, the last talent that we're going to cover, and going through why I chose this particular build and these particular talents together. We're going Crystal Aegis, Repelling Strike, Wrath or Will of Heaven, depending on your shield. Or depending on your comp, excuse me. Shield of Hope. Activating grant all nearby allied heroes a shield for 3 seconds equal to 50% of the health they are missing. This one, not all that impactful. When you saw how much Crystal Aegis and that shield did for us and how long that lasted, granted, this is for all heroes that are nearby. However, again, we're down health immediately. It's a quick burst. It does help. It can sustain your team if you don't have any energy and if you need to take that immediately. It can be very, very good in that regard. Situational compared to some of the others. So essentially the light speed, not going to be a talent that most are taking because not the heroic that most are going to take. Diamond Resolve, more than likely going to be the option that's going to come through, but your two very, very good other options for situations are Shield of Hope and Angelic Flight. Angelic Flight giving you that global presence, that ability to fly ahead almost like a Falstad Gust and knock someone back with your E, which is very, very strong. Very good option in that regard, and Shield of Hope for that last minute or that kind of crunch time shield for everybody on your team to be able to rush a core, to be able to win a team fight. That can have a very serious impact if you are all grouped together and around. So, we're going to go right back over the talents that we would normally be picking here for us in most cases. We're going increasing clarity again. Want to increase the damage that we can deal because that increases our healing. Direct correlation to that. Right after that, repeated defense increases damage when heroes are stunned, so that gains the damage every time that we get a stun out on our E, throwing them into terrain or into buildings. Energized Cord for the increased amount of healing and the increased amount of energy that we gain from that. Crystal Aegis, just because it's the better of both ultimates. Repelling Strike because it launches people back an extra 35%. Incredibly, incredibly strong. And Wrath or Will of Heaven going to be the best options here. And at 20, either Angelic Flight if you need a global, if you are low, if you need to cap an objective a little bit faster, get back into a fight, very, very useful. More than likely, though, Diamond Resolve or Shield of Hope. Personally, kind of pulling Shield of Hope. I've seen Diamond Resolve work out really, really well and can be very, very good for someone that dives a little too deep, someone that's out of position, or your tank, just to use it as a zoning tool with one of your team members, and can be very, very good. But in most pug groups or in those that are not in pre-made groups, Shield of Hope going to be the best option. So let's go ahead and set off cooldowns, build our stuff back up, kind of show what late game is going to look like, even though this is not very late game. This is our level 1 talent, so we're going to be able to do this very quickly. We only are required to hit 20 Arthas Diamond Towers there. So we can pop this right on through. I wonder if it'll let me... Oh, that's pretty interesting. Okay. I wondered if that would work, and it absolutely does. Alright, I think one more. Nope, one more. There we go. And so we'll just go ahead and line this guy up here. Okay. And we only need 10, so we're 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and lastly 10. Alright, so now we are all fully charged up. Come on, Arthas, don't make this easy for me. Yeah, it's that good. We'll wait for him to come around again. We are going to bully him out of lanes. We're going to keep our cooldowns off. Or no, we are going to keep the cooldowns on so that we're able to exemplify what we're able to do here. So, launch him into a wall, deals like 600 damage, and immediately we just took Arthas down as a healer, nearly a quarter health. Which is absolutely ridiculous. And if we're thinking of trying to gain our energy back, we can just hit him a little bit there. Again, stun him into the wall, slap him down with that, and we're right at half energy, roughly. And he is hurting. So we're able to bully people out of an area, or almost out of a lane entirely ourselves. Okay, we can even soak up this tower damage. It's not even a big deal for us right now. Again, we can hit him and drop him. Arthas, obviously not a very good target to be dealing with dodges and character movement, anything in that degree, but you can see where that comes into play and how strong that can be. Her burst damage, very, very deceptive given the right talent choices, and her healing, again, just strong overall and very, very good when you're able to exemplify something with Bestow Hope. So very, very strong character, very much looking forward to her. I am not a support character in any kind of capacity, but she is very much changing that for me. She's making it seem that this is going to be a character that I play very, very often because she can be incredibly strong 1v1, incredibly strong in the team atmosphere, and just incredible in general. She has the peels of a tank, the heals of a strong healer like Rhaegar, though not as frequent, and she has the damage of someone that's closer to a Kharazim in that kind of regard as well, or a Tyrande even. The damage out that comes on that is just absurd. Alright, well, that is Auriel, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope this helped you out at least a little bit to be able to see some of the talents for Auriel before she actually hits live, more than likely here in just a few days on Tuesday. And now that you have an idea of what kind of build that you can be looking forward to or what she really can do herself, the body blocks can be so real with this stun. It's going to be fantastic, and I can't wait for it. Thank you so much, everyone, for stopping by. Again, my name is Exalted One, and we will see you all in the next